The S23 Ultra is Samsung's newest flagship and it's packed with features. I've had my hands on it for the past few weeks and been using it as my daily driver. Welcome back to the channel, guys. If you're new here, my name is Aral Tasher and I'm a UX engineer based out of Orlando, Florida. In this video, I'll be doing an in-depth review of the S23 Ultra and some of the features that stood out to me and help you decide whether if this is the phone to be upgrading to in 2023. Let's get into it. So the S23 Ultra comes in 4 colors: cream, green, lavender, and phantom black. It has a crispy 6.8-inch AMOLED display with a maximum resolution of 3840 by 1440 pixels, and it supports refresh rates from 1 Hz to 120 Hz. The color accuracy is pretty impressive as well, with 99.99% sRGB coverage as well as 89.39% Adobe RGB coverage, giving you very vibrant colors both when creating and consuming content. It can reach to a peak brightness of 1750 nits, which allows you to have a clear vision of the screen both in indoors and bright outdoor situations. It also features an improved ISP for better image processing for night shots, as well as an upgraded OIS system for some buttery smooth videos as well as non-blurry images. In terms of design, there have been some incremental yet crucial upgrades from its predecessor. While the overall design language remains the same, the S23 Ultra has a boxier overall shape, making it easier to grip. It also has flatter edges, which is very handy when you're trying to use that built-in S Pen on the edges of the screen. It comes with a standard USB-C port at the bottom as well as a nano SIM card slot. The USB-C port allows you to output an HDMI signal and allows you to use Samsung DeX mode on an external monitor for multitasking. And I think Samsung DeX is one of the features that is not covered enough, so I'm planning on doing a dedicated video just to showcase you guys what kind of multitasking things you can do just with your phone using the DeX mode. Now let's talk about the camera setup, which has been one of the most common questions I got asked on Instagram. The S23 Ultra now comes with a 200 megapixel sensor compared to the 108 megapixel on the S22 Ultra. The 200 megapixel shots, even though it takes a hot second to process them while you're taking them, I think is very handy, especially for content creators, as it gives you plenty of margin for cropping in for corrections or repurposing your shots for different media formats. The night shots are significantly improved with the updated ISP, as I've mentioned. You can get pretty impressively clean shots even in very dark situations. Now, one of my favorite additions is now the Expert RAW app is built into the camera app, which allows you to take 50 megapixel RAW images and import them straight into Lightroom for editing. With the Expert RAW mode, it also brings in that astrophoto and now the multi-exposure mode as well. So now you can shoot stacked images natively in the phone for some high dynamic range images. The cameras are pretty impressive on the video end as well. You can shoot 4K up to 60 frames per second, as well as 8K at 30 frames per second. Now, what I really like about the 8K videos is that you can either use that 8K video on a 4K timeline and have downsampled very crispy shots in your videos, or crop in and repurpose them for vertical or horizontal formats, as I mentioned before. Now, like I said, in terms of camera capabilities, I think this phone is very impressive, and I'm planning on doing a dedicated real-life testing just to test out specifically the camera capabilities. So make sure you're subscribed so that you get notified when that video comes out. Now let's talk about what's under the hood. The S23 Ultra comes with the newest Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 for Galaxy chipset. This chipset is released exclusively for the S23 lineup and is an overclocked version both on the CPU and GPU. This translates to better performance and efficiency over the standard version, of course. In terms of performance, with the graphical settings maxed out, I was able to get a consistent 60 frames per second on mobile games. But what was more impressive for me was that I was able to run a full PlayStation 1 emulator on this device with some aggressive rendering settings and play some of the childhood classics that I had, which brought me back down the memory lane, to be honest. And while we're talking about gaming, with a little bit of a research, I found out that the S23 Ultra offers a battery bypass feature. This allowed users to skip using the battery entirely while gaming for a healthier battery life. With this feature enabled, you can plug the phone to an outlet while playing games and not charge the battery and extend the lifetime of your battery that way. In order to do that, make sure that you have the Samsung Game Launcher app installed on your phone. In terms of battery life, this device packs a 5000 milliamp hour battery, which hasn't changed since the last year's model. But because the latest Snapdragon chipset is so efficient, I was able to get roughly a day and a half time of heavy usage on one charge. The battery charging time is also very impressive, as I was able to get 0 to 100% roughly over an hour time. Overall, with the latest overclocked Snapdragon chip and the 200 megapixel camera sensor, I think the S23 Ultra is a powerhouse both for gamers and for productivity. Personally, while I think some of the upgrades might seem incremental to a generic audience, I think for a niche demographic, these are some very crucial upgrades. Plus, if you've been behind a few generations and been holding out for an upgrade, I think you won't regret upgrading to this one. So what do you guys think about the S23 lineup? Let me know in the comments if you had any questions, and make sure to subscribe for more content coming up around the S23 Ultra. Till then, see you on the next one. Peace.